Eye on South Asia is brought to you by Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo, together we'll go far.
Welcome back to Eye on South Asia. Sanjeev, let's talk about Pankaj Mishra.
Controversy, huh?
Controversial author.
Right.
Whether it's in his native country, in India, or abroad, he is quite controversial, but he's also a respected voice in
Mishra likes to mix up the whole stories.
He's a respected voice in the
Right.
Indian, British, and American communities.
Right.
You know, wherever he is, he's going to stir up a controversy. And he has a book that has hit shelves on Tuesday in the US, and it's called From Ruins of Empire, The Intellectuals Who Remade Asia.
Right.
And he's actually talking about, this is very interesting, he's talking about names that are being absent from history. So he talks about how he was learning about nationalist histories growing up and then imperialist histories. So there are sources coming from very specific areas. And he says, you know, I just want to find my own sources. And there are really some important people that are being left out of the story, such as, you know, when we talk about contemporary events like the Arab Spring or even the rise of India and China,
Right,
who were
right.
the instrumental people that were involved. So, of course, he's mainly known for challenging the Western narrative of imperialism, saying, you know, of course, a lot of Western textbooks might say imperialism was the prime tool in developing these nations, in developing democracy. But he says that's absolutely not true. In fact, he says imperialism was all about occupation, invasion, war, appropriation, and constructing racial hierarchies in which darker-skinned people were treated abominably.
That's
So
right.
this is his main platform, and he is kind of talking about how the credit from Western influence should be actually given to the originators of democracy.
You know, this author, Pankaj Mishra, who's 43 years old, right? And he has actually made a name, quite a, a big name by challenging this Western narrative of imperialism. And he continues to do so because, he's saying that, the chapters that have been absent from both Eastern and Western accounts of 19th and early 20th century history, you know, he has come up with all these names and he wants to have them included in his book and the public to be aware of these names. But his source, nobody knows whether the source is reliable or not. And then the way he's questioning this Western narrative of imperialism, that is, quite interesting point that he's making it. But that's a Pankaj Mishra. And earlier we said that he's a controversial himself, and this is a controversy. So,
But looking on the positive side to this, he says that multifaceted histories, because a story would have many sides to it. He says that it's going to allow people to understand the story, to predict the future better, and
also understand about Asia, because he says, I think that Asia has not been conceptualized, has not been imagined sufficiently, and what we now need are histories that give a global perspective, as per Pankaj Mishra.
Exactly.
So, well,
So the book is The Intellectuals Who Remade Asia.
I will try to read that book.
Yes, that should be a
It's
very
gonna be
interesting read.
interesting,
Yeah.
you're right.
All right, so speaking of some interesting stories here, there's a study that's being conducted on racial bias in sentencing decisions by courts in the U.S.
That's quite a big statement.
That's quite a
they are
big
making.
allegation there.
It is, I'm telling you. It is quite a big one, yep.
So Sendil Mullainathan, he's a professor of economics at Harvard University. He and his colleagues have done a joint study that's talking about this racial bias in judicial sentencing decisions. And he's done a paper, it's called like, Do Judges Vary in Their Treatment of Race? How the sentencing is different based on race. And he says that basically he's concluded that there is a bias, but there are also some shortcomings to this conclusion and this study that says, it's possible that people from different races have different histories of criminal background.
Well, the example that given here, the researchers, work with a large data set of felony cases from Cook County, Illinois. Now we know the state of Illinois and its background, right? And they used that, data for a statistical technique to show that judges take race into account in their sentencing decisions.
Yes. So
they looked at what they call the racial gap in sentencing, the difference between sentences for black defendants and white defendants.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and they're also finding that there's a disparity among judges themselves.
Yep.
So some judges are biased and some are not,
right,
as we would be,
And this person, the main person of the story, Mr. Sendhil Mulathan, is a 2002 recipient of the 5-year Genius Grant from the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation. And he's a BA in Computer Science, Economics and Mathematics from Cornell University, and a PhD in Economics from Harvard.
Exactly.
So this is quite a big statement that he has made.
Yeah, from quite a big guy as well.
I would really, really be interested in following a reaction from American media.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Especially considering a lot of the racial profiling allegations that have been made against the police. Now this is being made against judges and jury.
Exactly.
So, yeah, as you said, it would be interesting to see a follow-up from the American media.
Yep.
So, speaking of big American media, Time magazine has, guess who he has on the cover?
Do I need to guess? All right, we'll make it simple for you. He is the host of, I think, one of the most successful show, just recent history. And we have talked about that show also. Truth May Prevail, Satyamev Jayate host, none other than Mr. Aamir Khan.
Aamir Khan, yes, he has become the 4th Indian actor to grace the cover of Time magazine, and he is coming off a very successful first season of Satyamev Jayate.
He deserves it.
Oh, absolutely.
He gets 100 out of 100 of my vote. He really, truly deserves it for actually, not only the show host, right? The way he actually carries himself and, whether it's a social or whether it's entertainment, he stays away from politics a lot because he has made, a few mistakes in the past. So he stays away from politics a lot. But he makes sure that whatever work that he starts, he finishes to as perfect as it can be. So that's why he gets a perfect point. And I'm not surprised that Aamir Khan is on Time magazine cover because by hosting that show, Satyamev Jayate, by the way, he has signed for second season also. It's a 13-week series, right? So he has signed for the second one. By hosting that show, he has brought in a lot of awareness. He has created a lot of awareness about social issues that otherwise people would not have known that, whether it has to do with food, medical, or government bureaucracy. So he has really dared to bring out those issues in his show. So he deserves it.
Exactly. And in India, these issues are so prevalent, but they're not being talked about. And really, there's no other talk show of its kind.
Well, they are not
India.
being talked about. It's the first time they are talked about. But then what would be the solution to it? We don't know.
We don't know, but it actually has had an effect in a sense. He has met with Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot regarding his first episode to combat the female feticide cases, and he is...
That was one of the most sensitive.
Exactly, and that was his very first episode. It's a very hard-hitting show, and he was working on some fast-track courts to combat this issue. And it seems to be creating some very real waves in the political sphere as well. So that's excellent news. And like you said, I mean, there's no one that deserves it more than Aamir Khan because
at this point,
he's a complete package.
Absolutely.
Social responsibility, is
and as we speak
at the
now,
top of his list.
Mr. Aamir Khan is in Chicago. He's in Chicago shooting for his film called Dhoom 3. There was a Dhoom original, then Dhoom 2, and now he's in Chicago along with Abhishek Bachchan, his co-star, and another co-stars, and he's in Chicago shooting for Dhoom 3, and he's going to be there for at least another month.
Great. So I think we should actually make a trip down there.
Uh-huh.
So,
Okay.
you know, meet our Time magazine hero.
I
of
think
the,
I think you know, it would be nice that if he makes a trip down here in our show.
That would be awesome.
Speaking of movies and entertainment, let's talk about these movies, which, you know, by the time our viewers catches our show, this movie would have hit the screens. It's opening, by the way, September 7th, which is, you know, a Friday. But
Yes.
over the weekend, you got to check out this movie called Desperate Endeavors.
Yes, Desperate Endeavors, starring Ishmael Bashe and the big Bollywood star Gulshan Grover.
Right.
And this is about, it's a very interesting movie. Have you seen this movie?
Yes, I have seen the movie, and it is what they say, a heartwarming and inspiring true story, right?
Yes.
Inspiring true story in the sense of Gulshan Grover plays a role of Dada Bhagwan. Now, Dada Bhagwan who was a spiritual leader from state of Gujarat, and Dada Bhagwan has enormous number of followers all over the world. So Dada Bhagwan's spirituality has nothing to do with any religion or nothing like that. It's just his message about life, about karma in your life, and what should one do and what should one not do. Mm-hmm. How that message changes the hero of the film, which is Ismail Bashi, how that message changes his life also.
Right.
That is what the story is all about. So take a journey on an enjoyable roller coaster of uplifting excitement, uncertainty, and emotion. This is what all is in this movie, Desperate Endeavors.
Yes, releasing September 7th. And really, it's about anyone who is chasing the American dream, you know. Anyone who's an immigrant just comes to this country with so many hopes and dreams from their family, expectations, and that sort of thing. So it's a really good film for those who have gone through the immigrant
and
experience.
for families, you know, obviously that you should go with your families to catch this movie. For more information, desperateendeavorsmovie.com to find out theaters, you know, near your location, near your house. That's where they have all the theaters listed. But Gulshan Grover, you know, he plays his character roles very well, and in this Dada Bhagwan's role, he does a super job.
Yes, exactly. So be sure to catch this movie.
Yep.
That's all the time we have for this episode of Eye on South Asia. Catch us next week on Crossings TV, same time, same place. You can also find us on YouTube and Facebook. And until next week, I'm Bob Navanan signing off and wishing you a great weekend.
And I'm Sanjeev Pandya. See you all next week. Thank you for watching Eye on South Asia.
Eye on South Asia is brought to you by Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo, together we'll go far.